If you weren't watching the North London derby, then what the hell were you doing? Because you missed out on a good one. An absolutely cracker of a game. Yet another classic installment in the series that is the North London derby. And yet again, this Tottenham team this season produced another great performance. And oh my word, does that Tottenham train keep rolling. I don't know what Ange Postecoglou has done, but he has revolutionized that Tottenham team. And I'm not even a fan. You're probably not even a fan of Tottenham, but they just keep on going, and you cannot take your eyes away from this Tottenham team. Yet again, do Tottenham exceed expectations, because Arsenal has been the biggest and hardest challenge that they've had to date with this new revolutionized Tottenham side. Yes, Man United, I guess you could say, was a challenge, but they are nowhere near the levels that Arsenal are at, and Tottenham, again, they exceeded expectations. Nobody thought they'd probably come out with a draw here. Yes, they looked good before coming into this game, but not this good. Because they may not have won, but they produced a great performance, a gritty performance, and they looked like a top side against Arsenal, whoever you ask, some people might say they're the best team in the Premier League. And they went into the Emirates, a place where they haven't played well. Despite it being a North London derby, they have not played well at the Emirates in the last couple of years, but they came into that stadium. They went down twice and still found themselves a way to find goals and come out with a draw. And to say that about Tottenham, fair play. Fair play to Tottenham, fair play to Ange Postecoglou. He's revolutionized them because they look better than they ever have been. And they don't even have Harry Kane. Fair play. Fair fucking play. But geez, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I would be extremely disappointed that they didn't come out with a win. Because, let's be honest, Arsenal should have been 2-3-0 up in the first 30 minutes. And that's more the reason why I think that Tottenham performance was incredible. The fact that they came out of there with a draw, considering those first 30 minutes, incredible. Because, look, everyone's looking at those stats. And they're seeing that Tottenham had more of the possession, especially in the first half. It was probably 60-something possession. But I'll tell you, that was not good possession. That's yet another case where the stats don't tell the full story. Arsenal were dominating Tottenham in those first 30 minutes. Tottenham just looked shaky and they looked way too relaxed on the ball. Basuma had an incredible game, yes. But he looked way too relaxed and way too chill on that ball when they were playing at the back. And he made a couple mistakes. Arsenal had interception after interception, and they well and truly should have scored 1 to 2, 3 more goals even in those first 30 minutes. And I think that was Arsenal's game plan, and they executed it to a T. To a T. Because I think they came into this expecting Tottenham to play out from the back, and they just said, can you do it good enough? You haven't had a test like us, so let's see how you really do. And they overran them, and the pressure that they were generating on that Tottenham backline to play out properly really started to work. The amount of interceptions that they were getting, as I said, they should have been 2-3-0 up in those first 30 minutes. Basuma, no matter how well he played, he looked shaky as well. Because not in a nervous way, he was almost way too relaxed. He was way too relaxed sitting there. Whenever he got the ball, it looked just way too relaxed. I don't know, I know I'm just repeating my words, but I can't really find the words to say, but he looked way too nonchalant, that's the word. Way too nonchalant. And then that's the reason why Arsenal got some interceptions, and they were really, Tottenham were only really playing in their 16-yard box, their own 16-yard box. Arsenal, although they didn't have the ball, they were still playing in Tottenham's final third, because Tottenham couldn't play out the back, and they were constantly getting pressed. Arsenal were relentless. And that was one of the better performances that I've seen from Arsenal in those first 30 minutes. They were so relentless, but they were wasteful as well. They should have won this game. And if I'm Arsenal, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I would look at those first 30 minutes and I'd say that's where we, quote, lost the game, because Arsenal should have won. Although they didn't lose, they drew, but they should have been winning. And it's those first 30 minutes. Because Vicario struggled, Basuma struggled, Udogie especially struggled. He also looked way too relaxed. And he was getting cooked by Saka. He was getting absolutely rinsed. And the fact that Udogie struggled so much against Saka in that first half made me even more confused. Why the hell we didn't see a Saka isolation against Udogie after he got his yellow card? And that was probably born out of the frustration that he couldn't handle Saka. He got a yellow card in maybe something like the 30th minute. But correct me if I'm wrong, but after that point, after that Udogie yellow card, I could barely remember a point where Arsenal found Saka isolated against Udogie. And he was on a yellow card. That is prime, perfect recipe to get you a goal. And considering how much Saka was creating against Udogie, that's how they found a goal. There was an overlap from Ben White, there was a miscommunication between Udogie and Brennan Johnson, Saka was open, and obviously the Christian Romero mistake. But Saka was just relentless against Udogie. And you'd think they'll just go up twofold after the yellow card, but they couldn't find him. And you have to give props to Tottenham, because despite how shaky they were in those first 30 minutes, they finally settled into the game. Basically after that yellow card, really, they settled into the game, found good patterns of play, had a huge chance with Brennan Johnson, an incredible save by David Raya, but they probably should have put that away. And then after that, after a good 15-minute spell, they finally found a goal late in the first half. Incredible finish by Son. Saka is called Starboy for a reason. He does not need to be stealing next man's celebration with James Maddison and then getting tanned by the same guy for the first Tottenham goal. He did the dart celebration and then he got tanned by James Maddison about 10-15 minutes later. I don't know what the hell he was doing, and he did the same thing after the penalty. And then a minute later, James Maddison got an assist with Son. Okay, but yes. Maddison spun Saka. He found Son, incredible finish. And look, resurgence of Son in the number 9 position. You know, people obviously saying he was washed, but he looks good in that number 9 position, and they don't really look like they need another striker. If Son is playing like that, and he's getting some chances, and he's putting them away. So I think Son is fine to stay in that position because he looks good enough there, and he looks like he can do a job for Tottenham. Obviously, he's fucking hungry, but you know, it makes me think. Arsenal scored their 2 goals and mistakes. Obviously, the Romero own goal and his handball with a penalty. Look, despite really Arsenal's biggest chances did come from Tottenham mistakes, and they didn't capitalize. Tottenham made mistake after mistake after mistake. They even made mistakes in the second half after I thought they'd finally settled in. Basuma had a couple shaky ones in the second half as well. So Arsenal, despite, you know, how relentless they were, again, I mean, you should be putting those mistakes away. I guess that is the reason why you put pressure on a team, to get them to give the ball up in a dangerous position, and you put it away. Because despite those mistakes from Tottenham, I don't think Arsenal really had big chances. And exactly why you should be putting the chances you get away. Because this game could have easily been 4-2 and put to bed. Arsenal back on their high horse, back on a title race. But now they find themselves yet again another step behind a Manchester City or a Liverpool. I mean, overall, it was a very back and forth game. It was incredible to watch. It was entertaining. It was obviously entertaining. Back and forth. It was 2 teams that looked like top teams going against each other toe to toe. And the same thing in the second half. But look, if Declan Rice wasn't injured, I think he was. I think that's why he came off. But that was a baffling decision at the time to see Jorginho come on for Declan Rice. Obviously, I understand the Fabio Vieira part. Kai Havertz coming on for Fabio Vieira because he didn't really look good. Fabio Vieira was struggling with the physicality of the game. And I think it was needed that even though it's Kai Havertz, I think that was needed. I think Kai Havertz did need to come on for Fabio Vieira. But Declan Rice, unless he was injured, that was just such a baffling decision to see Jorginho on. And I know Arteta was regretting that decision when that mistake happened. Straight after the Saka penalty, after he stole that stupid Maddison celebration, James Maddison, Jorginho, at the back, last man, gives the ball up to James Maddison. On the break, finds Son, bang, 2-2. Just like that. Arsenal, they were on top of Tottenham in those first 10-20 minutes again in the second half. But again, they couldn't capitalize. Yes, they found a penalty and they found a goal, but they gave up a goal the other way. It's just, Arsenal don't look clinical. Arsenal don't look sharp. There's just something about Arsenal this season that just doesn't look right. Conceding after a goal is signs of complacency, because the amount of pressure that they were putting on, again, the amount of pressure that they were generating on Tottenham. How Arsenal came out in the second half, after scoring that goal, I thought they would go on to put a couple past them again, but they just couldn't. And Tottenham found a way out and they scored. And then for the rest of the game, it was Arsenal just doing whatever they could to find an opportunity, and they couldn't. There wasn't really many big opportunities after that point. I mean, Maddison didn't even get the ball in the first 20 minutes. That's how relentless Arsenal were. Maddison couldn't find the ball. He had to drop so far deep to even get a touch of the ball. But then you let Tottenham settle in because you didn't score those 1 or 2 extra goals, and Maddison found himself into the game. He played himself into the game. And the whole Tottenham team really played themselves into the game because they felt a sigh of relief, really, where I know they were thinking, damn, we should be 2-3-0 down. But we're only 1-0 down. And they could continue to play their game. And that's really the same thing that happened in the second half. They could just continue to play their game. Arsenal should have done better, a lot better. And looking forward for Arsenal, can they win games? Yet again, I think Arsenal's performance comes down to mentality more than the way they played. If anything, be more cutting edge and don't be so complacent. Conceding after scoring, it's terrible. That is not a sign of a champion. Conceding after scoring is not any sign of a contender. Arsenal really need to have an introspective look at themselves, because they need to be playing better if they want to win a title. Tottenham, on the other hand, they can keep on rolling. They have no expectations. They're shackled free, and they can continue to play the way they're playing. The next big test is obviously the likes of a Manchester City. They have Liverpool next week. I think against Liverpool, they'll fare a little bit better. Liverpool give you a little bit more space. They're not as relentless as they used to be. But geez, I mean, if they get a result against Liverpool as well, I think if they get a win against Liverpool, I think it's done. I think they have to be put up for top 4. I think there's, because there's still obviously a point in the season where these guys will probably drop off and they'll come back down to earth. But for now, with this incredible performance against Arsenal, if they could get a win against the Liverpool, who have looked unbeaten, obviously Liverpool haven't looked as good as they should be looking, but hey, this Tottenham train keeps on rolling. How long will it roll for? Who knows? But yet again, another classic installment in the North London derby.